Spent the last weekend in Augusta, Georgia to watch a practice round of the Masters for my wife's birthday. Just a great time. And before we go any further, baby, happy birthday. I love you. I can't imagine life without you. Thanks for everything. And with that, let's get into today's topic. If you've been keeping up with the show lately, you know I've been going through this book, Creating Minds by Howard Gardner. And I might finish it by the time we get to episode 100. But one thing I've noticed in all of these creatives and the lives of these huge creative names and personalities is that they all spent a lot of time in isolation. And there's a couple things to that, right? As I think about like what you guys are going through. And I think that there's another paradox, right? One is that you have to have that time of isolation. Like as an artist and in this crazy world, I got cars going right now. I got Twitter blowing up on my phone. And I know you have other demands on your time too. So it's important to set that isolation period where no one else can get in. But on the other hand, you cannot allow yourself to drown in that. And I'm coming to you as someone who's been there. I mean, I was hiding stuff from my wife, who I wished happy birthday at the beginning of the show, who I love more than anyone else in the world. I was keeping things from her about how stressed I was and how consumed I was by some of my ideas. And I think that's the temptation as a creative person that you must resist. Listen, we need you as a human more than we need your work. And your work is incredible and it's brilliant and it's going to change the world. But at the end of the day, if you are not mentally and spiritually sound, you're not going to be able to continue to produce that kind of groundbreaking work. So this week, I want to remind you and encourage you, find that isolation, but don't drown in it. This week's question comes in from Sarah, and Sarah asks, I know it's important to build a routine of writing regularly. Would you recommend, though, setting a time limit by which an article, chapter, or complete book should be finished? Sarah, that is an amazing question, and the answer probably depends on your circumstances and your personality a little bit. Like last week, I talked about the 3 stages I go through when I write a novel, and those are for people who are getting in it for the first time. And this is a similar type of question because like the true, pure, most accurate answer to this is spend enough time, but not too much. And isn't that obnoxious? So like when I'm looking at these things like timers and these other psychological tricks that we writers sometimes have to put ourselves through in order to get started, I would say definitely use a timer, use a deadline, use whatever you've got if you're trying to build a habit. Now, if you go too far that way and you assume that all writing fits in a certain period of time, you probably could be mistaken, right? Because this book is enormous and I can't imagine that he wrote it in any time less than the time I took to write my book. And so as you grow as a writer and as you continue to develop the habit and get better at what you do, you can kind of discard those timer things in order to explore bigger ideas, right? So I'd say depends on the level you're at. If you're trying to build the habit, use the timer. If you're trying to go deep and get a huge quality of work, you might want to look past it in exchange for doing more research or taking more time. This week's artist spotlight goes on Bo Burnham. Now, I hesitated about adding him on the show because I kind of see myself as like family friendly. This is a family friendly show. And if you were to look up Bo's work, it would not necessarily be family friendly. But I got to shout this guy out and also voice some concerns, I guess, because I'm so impressed with his intelligence and with his comedy. And most importantly, with his honesty. I wrote a post a while back talking about the fact that he literally told his fans, my biggest problem is you. Part of me loves you, part of me hates you, part of me needs you, part of me fears you. He said that in a comedy show. And I have to show respect and love to anyone who's willing to go there, even though laughs are on the line. So if you're the kind of person who can tolerate some crude and vulgarity, definitely look up Bo's work and you can see what he's doing is just total genius. And otherwise, just go to the Wikipedia page. It's got a crazy story, and you can learn a lot from it. Thank you so much for watching episode 63. Before you get out of here, answer this week's Ask the Audience. And it's a total pivot from the topic of the show, but I want to know, what Hogwarts house are you in? I asked this question on Twitter just because I'm super interested in it. I only recently found out that I'm a Ravenclaw. And so let me know what you are down below. And I'll be happy to either make fun of you or say, hey, we're in the same club. Whichever one you want to do. Again, I'm Todd B from Tennessee. Thumbs up this show if you liked it. And I will talk with you next week.